So vitamin D is of perpetual interest in the ancestral health community because vitamin D is a key example of evolutionary mismatch hypothesis, where under the conditions of our evolution, we spent almost most of our days through most of our lives outside, where we had abundant access to the sun, and of course we also evolved in a much more equatorial environment. And now we're much more spread across the globe where we have more seasonal access to sunlight, which provides vitamin D. But we also spend most of our modern lives indoors. And so regardless of what you think the ancestral vitamin D level might have been, it certainly was higher than what most of us would have if we're not supplementing and if we're living indoor lifestyles and aren't careful to specifically go out and get vitamin D. And then, of course, COVID-19 is of perpetual interest to anyone who's been alive since January 2020, because all of us just want it to go away, and it won't. So therefore, the topic of vitamin D and COVID-19 is of interest in any post-2020 ancestral health symposium. Now, before the pandemic, or at the time that the pandemic was emerging, there had already been quite a body of literature suggesting that vitamin D is very protective against respiratory disorders in general. And a lot of that research had been done on associations with colds and flu, and it had included several randomized controlled trials showing protective effects of vitamin D against the flu. And so when the pandemic emerged, it was a reasonable hypothesis for anyone to say, well, we know that supplementing vitamin D protects against the flu. It seems generally protective against respiratory disorders. Therefore, we should all supplement with more vitamin